Given side street, which is where they're going now as they head out from King Saud University and from Rasool Park. We're underway then, we're on time. It's 6:15 AM local time. 3:15 GMT. And our pacers are at the front as the men and the women's elite races of this very first full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, staged by the Sport for All Federation, is underway. Thank you for joining me. I'll be with you for the next 2.5 hours or so until we see our elite women finish. And you'll be able to stay tuned after that if you want to watch the half marathons, the 10-kilometer races, and of course the finish of the full marathons too, for all the fun runners and those who are here just to enjoy themselves and meet personal challenges. A lot of large sporting events in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will tend to start here at the King Saud University. And our pacers are doing a great job in these first kilometers. You'd expect the pacers to stick with the main runners at least until 25k. Their job is a simple one: to try to make this Riyadh marathon the first of its kind, a destination sporting event for elite runners from around the world. So let's take you then through some of the favourites for today's race. In the men, look out for the number 1 on your screens. That is Barnabas Kiptum. He hasn't won a major marathon before, but he does have the fastest personal best of all of our competitors today. Following him, Segei Tadeze, Ethiopian, whose personal best is only 20 seconds or so slower than Barnabas Kiptum. And in fact, both those runners have impressive recent results over the last 2 or 3 years. Number 3 is Joel Kimura of Kenya, who won the Valencia half, but a long time ago in 2012. His best results last year were 8th, both in Milan and in Paris. And as we continue to look at the men, number 5 is Andualem Shifarao. He's won the last 3 marathons in which he's competed, twice at Lisbon and once in Castellón.
Essaye d'avancer un petit peu. On ralentit du coup.
As we take a look now
on reste comme ça, c'est super.
At the women's race, and of course a couple of paces there as well. Number 15 in the black singlet is John Lengend.
Super, on est comme ça, super.
And just behind our paces at the moment, in these very, very early stages, in the bottom left-hand side of your screen, bottom left-hand corner of your screen, number 21 there is on paper the fastest woman in the race, Edesha Wakanesh. Of course, a marathon isn't run on paper, it's run on the roads. This one on the roads of Riyadh. We'll have a very limited idea of what kind of form these runners have going into this race. The heat won't bother any of the Kenyan or Ethiopian athletes, of course. But the change in temperature from this time in the morning until we really get underway in an hour or so's time, when the heat will have risen by well over 10 or 15 degrees. You can see it's a murky morning here in Riyadh. overcast and grey, and there is quite a high chance of rain as well. So this is not going to be a day for world record pacing by any means. Having said that, we should still see a great race. So the runners are currently on King Khalid Road, and they'll be doing a loop all the way around from Rasool Park in the centre of King Saud University. They head southwest before turning 90 degrees.
Garde la distance avec eux si tu peux. Accélère, accélère, accélère.
And going northwest.
On reste comme ça. Ok, super.
On Prince Satam bin Abdulaziz Road. They'll go past the Diriyah Flagpole Square, and we'll see that on your screens, of course, before they get to Diriyah. Another 90-degree turn to head northeast on Prince Mohammed ibn Salman ibn Abdulaziz Road. Turning again onto Prince Turki Abdulaziz Al Awal Road, and then onto the northern branch Ring Road before completing their loop past the King Abdullah Financial District, Al Takasuzi, past the Digital City, and back to Rasool Park and the finish line, which is situated right by the start line, in fact. There's one of those 90-degree turns that I was telling you about. Very much a road race, very much a city circuit as well. The road's all closed, of course, for the runners, as much as possible anyway. And the same for the half marathon. Now the half marathon, which starts in just a couple of minutes' time, will actually start at the same time as the mass start for the marathon itself. So the fun runners, if you like to call them that, the amateurs, they'll be running alongside at the beginning the professionals who are here for the half marathon. And we'll turn our attention to the half marathon very shortly as we go back to the start line in a couple of minutes for that. You can expect the elite men to be running just over 2 hours. In these conditions, though, depending on when it rains or not, and with that false flat at the end, I would think we'll probably be looking more at nearer 2 hours 10 minutes than 2 hours 5. But that remains to be seen. The men have just come onto King Fahad Road. And our cameras will be following them closely for you. Let's continue talking about some of the elite women athletes when we come back from looking at the mass start of the rest of the marathon and the half marathon, which will be getting underway in just a minute or so's time. Once everybody's on the road, we can start to analyse a little bit more about what's going on in the race and who looks like they're strong. At the moment, of course, as the runners come up to about 10 minutes since the start, we are underway with the half marathon. And our half marathon athletes running the 21 kilometers, 21.1 kilometers. Our favourites for the men, Eric Kiptanui of Kenya and two of his countrymen, Alfred Mukche and Jeffrey Kipchumba. Their personal bests are all around about exactly the same time. Eric Kiptanui with a personal best in the half marathon of 58 minutes and 42 seconds in Berlin in 2019. Alfred Mukce in the Madrid half last year ran his personal best of 59.43, and Jeffrey Kipchumba 59.49 also last year in Nakuru. In terms of our women for the half marathon, the two big favourites today, Daisy Cheretich and Gloria Kite. Cheretich should be able to win this fairly easily. Her personal best is way quicker than Gloria Kite. Cheretich has never actually won a half marathon, but she did run 66 minutes and 15 seconds in Lisbon last year. Whereas Gloria Kite in Rome last year ran 67.54. The mass start now for the full marathon here in Riyadh is about to go. So all of these guys and girls who have been training for the last few months, this is D-Day. This is the time for them to shine. And if you have any family or friends running today, then do let us know on Twitter. You can do that with the hashtag Riyadh Marathon. Hashtag Riyadh Marathon. Off we go. We are underway. Lots of excitement, of course, amongst all of the amateur runners. So our amateurs are choosing either to run 21.1 kilometers or 42.2 for the full marathon. This Riyadh Marathon, in line, of course, with Saudi Arabia's transformative vision to be a global sports destination, promoting sport and tourism growth. In partnership with Sports for All, Saudi Arabian sports organization. Let's concentrate on our favourites in the elite race in the men then. We've talked about Barnabas Kiptum, Tsagi Tereze, who won the Izmir Marathon last year in 2 hours and 9 minutes and 35 seconds. His personal best was also last year. He's wearing the number 2, which is running behind the pacers there, of course. And he finished in the Paris Marathon last year in 7th place in a personal best of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 11 seconds. Joel Kimura, another Kenyan athlete, who won the Valencia half in 2012. He finished just behind Tadeze last year in Paris in 2 hours, 5 minutes and 25 seconds. And in fact, he came up against Barnabas Kiptum, who's wearing the number 1 today, in Milan last year as well, finishing over a minute down, though, on Kiptum, who finished in 3rd place. Somebody else to keep an eye out for, wearing the number 5, an Ethiopian athlete called Andualem Shifarau. He's won all 3 of his marathons that he's competed in as a professional, 2 in Lisbon and 1 in Castellón. And on days like today, sometimes it's not just about the fastest historical run and what your personal best has been up until today. Quite often it's about race guile as well, race technique and tactics. And if there's one runner in our elite men who seems to have marathon tactics down to a T, it's Andualem Shifarao. Another Ethiopian athlete, Lengend Beza, who won the Venice Marathon in 2019. His personal best time set in Dubai, so in a similar sort of part of the world, back in 2020. Personal best time of 2 hours, 6 minutes and 18 seconds. The truth is, though, of course, if Barnabas Kiptum can reach anything like his best, which he did do last year, he should take today's win relatively easily. But there are so many unpredictable circumstances, so many situations for which you just can't plan, that it's very difficult to predict what is going to happen on today's circuit. When the race designers are designing the course for these city marathons, wherever they be around the world, of course they have to take into account the topography and the landscape through which the runners will be running, but also they try to make the course as interesting as possible for television viewers, and also try to give something unique to each marathon. In Barcelona, for example, they're trying to make it the fastest marathon and a place where elite athletes will come to set personal bests and to set records. Here in Riyadh, much more about promoting the kingdom and promoting tourism and sport for all. And it's here in this city that we'll have some slightly rolling topography, some slightly rolling, a slightly rolling course, which means it won't be the fastest marathon, but it tactically will be extremely interesting in the coming hour. Don't forget that you can use the hashtag Riyadh Marathon if you're watching us wherever you are today, and you can get in touch with me. I'll be having a look, keeping my Twitter feed open the whole time to answer any questions that you might have. Rashid has just tweeted a photo from the start line where the runners have all been picking up their race kits and so on over the last few days. Each with their chips, of course, attached to their shoelaces to make sure that they can that their timing is accurate. And some of the runners will be out on this course for well over 4 or 5 hours. Not these guys, though. These elite men will be finishing in just over 2 hours in total. 124, 125 minutes, something like that will be what they're aiming for. But with this kind of a course and with these kinds of conditions, probably more realistic to look towards 2 hours 10 minutes than 2 hours 5.
Et dès que tu peux te décaler sur la gauche par rapport à eux.
In the orange singlet, so you can see Barnabas Kiptum there, today's favourite. He's wearing the number 1. But of course, at the beginning, we're looking at our pacers. Kemboy Kiprono and Wesley Kimeli. They're wearing the numbers 13 and 14. And they're at the front, helping our elite men keep up their pace. Number 8 in the centre of your screen there is Solomon Yego. Kenyan athlete who whose fastest time came in Valencia 4 years ago. Although he did have a very good result in Siena in 2021. Just over 2 hours and 6 minutes. Of course, long distance running has long been dominated by Kenyan and Ethiopian athletes. And it's exactly the same today here in Riyadh. Although a lot of their training still takes place in their home countries, many of them compete mainly in Europe. Some athletes these days are competing, although they're naturalized in Qatar or Dubai. We don't have any of those athletes here today. But many of our athletes who we see on our screens, if we watch professional long distance running, will still compete mainly in Europe, despite training to a large extent in their home countries. Number 25, there she is, we've talked about her already, the Ethiopian Thankyou So Much, who won in Barcelona in November and will no doubt be returning to Barcelona to defend her title in May this year, May the 8th, I think it is, the Barcelona Marathon. The next big marathons we have in just under a month's time, the Paris Marathon on the first weekend of April, and the first weekend of May is Barcelona. But today, it's all about Riyadh. Number 23 is Waganesh Mikasha. 22, Bornes Jepkurui. 2 hours, 21 minutes and 26 seconds is her fastest time. Kenyan athlete is the second fastest on paper here, behind Edesha Wurkanesh. But Jepkurui hasn't had a great time in the last couple of years. In 2021, her fastest time was way down on her personal best, 2 hours 25. These athletes, again, in the women's race, will be looking not at breaking personal bests today, but getting around in the fastest time possible, given the conditions and given the course that we have in front of us. So probably 2.5 hours or so for the women. Of course, these guys are so used to pacing. Now you can see, interesting quirk of the course here. You just saw the elite men coming back past the elite women. Good reason for that, it wasn't a mistake. It's because between 7 kilometers and 8 kilometers, there's a U-turn, 2 U-turns actually. And so we should see the two elite races crossing one another, and you'll see it again probably in a moment or so too, as we have a closer look at number 14, Wesley Kameli, only 21 years old, from Kenya. And he's one of our very, very important pacers here. At the back of the lead group is Jiska Tolosa. Not such a young man, this one. 11 years senior to Wesley Kameli. Very much a half marathon specialist. Competed in the World Championships a few years ago. But in 2019, he did run a reasonably good marathon in Hamburg. I say reasonably good, I mean, compared to most mere mortals, it's an exceptional marathon, of course. But for an elite athlete, 2 hours, 8 minutes and 51 seconds, with that very distinctive running style he has. Some interesting. This is unusual. We don't normally see this. That's Mike Kiptum at the top of your screen. Not a pacer. One of the favourites for today, the number 7. And he's having a word with the pacers. Of course, the pacers themselves will have will be following the cars in front. The cars in front giving them good timings and very exact timings to try to make sure that they have that they stay on pace. But interesting that Mike Kiptum came to speak to the pacers there. Whether he was asking them to speed up or slow down, I'm not sure. I suspect he was asking them to speed up slightly. But you don't often see that in an elite race. And here's a great example of why we're not going to see world record times today. A real leg breaker, this little hill. And of course, because it's a double loop of a Riyadh circuit, we're going to be seeing that little hill once again. And already, even after 7 or 8 kilometers, a little hill like that can really hurt. So Jiska Tolosa at the back of this little group. Just in front of him, one of the race favourites, Joel Kimura, number 3 in the orange singlet. Running next to Kimura is Lencher Ambessa in the number 6 on the right-hand side of this group here. 4th in Dubai 2 years ago, winner in Venice in 2019. It's very, very early here in Riyadh, of course. Don't forget it's only 20 to 7 in the morning, so not huge crowds on the road yet. As we go past the 9-kilometre mark, and we're on King Abdulaziz Road. And I'm not quite sure what was going on there. Our pacers getting in one another's way slightly, which is certainly not what they're supposed to be doing. Kip Kemboy, Kiprono and Wisley Kimeli. Kimeli in the orange singlet. Very inexperienced pacer. Kiprono slightly more experienced, a little bit older. And he, in fact, is being paid to come here as a pacer. But in Barcelona, just a few months ago, he actually finished 5th in 2 hours, 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Usually he's a pacer, but not so back in Barcelona a few months ago. Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. The word Riyadh actually literally means the gardens. The largest city on the Arabian Peninsula. Something of a tourist destination as well. Top 50 in terms of the most visited cities in the world. This city has a population of nearly 8 million people. All of the sights that the tourists come to see, of course, in Riyadh will not be seen by our runners today. They have much more important things to concentrate on. Our elite men and our elite women, as you would expect, are still all together. We don't expect any sort of moves to be made by any of our favourites, our race favourites, until the last 5 or 6 kilometres of the race. Remember that when we're looking at kilometres. We're talking about 42.2 kilometres for the full marathon and 21.1 for our half marathon, which is also underway, of course. Remember too that later on today we have a 10-kilometre race and a 4-kilometre race as well. Lots of children are going to be taking part in the 4K race. Many of them, or some of them at least, will be hoping one day to emulate the runners that we see on your screen right now as we look at the elite women's race. And already that lead group is a little bit stretched out. They're not running bunched up together in a way that you might expect to help protect themselves from the wind and so on. 9 kilometres done now for the women, and our pacers are setting a pace that definitely looks difficult for some of these athletes. We're going to come now to that little hill that we saw the men go up a few minutes ago. As the women now are on King Abdul Aziz Road as well. And coming up to that large junction before they take a 90-degree right-hand turn to head southeast back towards the university. And they're nearly a quarter of the way through the marathon, these women. So if we're looking at our pacing, when we get to 10K, we'll be able to see or have a better idea of how this pacing is going in terms of our final times today. Back to our elite men, and they are running in that group. They are running in the bunch, as we'd expect. This is another period of false flat here, just before they take that right-hand turn onto Prince Turki Ibn Abdulaziz Al Walwal Road. No time differences to speak of yet, of course. And our two pacers leading the bunch through. So the men are through 10K, and we were looking at a time there of 30 minutes and 29 seconds. That's for a quarter of the marathon done. And if a quarter of the marathon's done in 30 minutes and 29 seconds, we'll be looking at around about 2 hours, 5 minutes, if they can keep up that pace, but probably they'll start to slow, of course, as tiredness kicks in towards the ends. Jebkari Bornes, our Kenyan athlete, 36 years old, and in fact she is the oldest of our elite athletes here today. Having said that, she's had her best results definitely late on in her career and has had an excellent last 3 years, ignoring, of course, the COVID-affected times. Just behind her was Waganesh Mekasha, who, with a personal best time of 2 hours 22 minutes 45 seconds, was one of the favourites in Barcelona this year, but in the end, she faded very badly towards the end and was defeated by the number 25 on the right-hand side of your screen. The youngster, at just 21 years old, Tadu Teshome. But in the yellow singlets, Elisa Workanesh is the race favourite for today. 28 we haven't mentioned yet, that's Medina Armino, another Ethiopian rider in the green. Just to the right of the centre of your screen there, just going off screen now. And a lot of these athletes have favourite races. For Armino, it's Xiamen in China. They have favourite countries to run into very often. So for Armino, it's definitely China. And we were having a closer look then at the woman who we've talked about already, Waganesh Mekasha. There's a lot of talking going on between our pacers and between our runners in the men's race. It's a shame that we can't hear slightly better actually, what they're saying, because it's very unusual. To have this sort of level of communication, of chats, while the runners are actually out on the course. Kipkemboi Kiprono and Wesley Kimeli trying to keep our pace up for the elite men, up at around 2 hour 4 minute time, 2 hour 4 minute pace, which they managed for the first 10k, and it'll be interesting to see how long that can continue in today's conditions. Wesley Kimeli is only 21 years old. Turns 22 later this year. And one wonders what sort of a future he imagines having in long distance running. The pacers themselves can earn pretty reasonable income going around the world, pacing for these elite athletes. But some of them, like Kipkemboi Kiprono, now and again, they like to have a little go themselves. Number 10, we haven't talked about very much yet. That's Silas Tu. And he set a personal best last year in Eindhoven. 2 hours, 6 minutes and 32 seconds. So a couple of minutes slower than our race favourite. But still, somebody to look out for. It's the number 10 on the left-hand side of your screen right now. You also saw Solomon Yego. He's a guy who prefers running in European climates of Spain and France and Italy. Now, we haven't had yet our 10K time for the women. But given that our fastest runner, Edis Wurkanesh, has a personal best of 2 hours 20 minutes and a little bit, we should be looking at around about 35 minutes, 36 minutes for the women. Back to the men. And just time for us to have a bit more of a chat about some of these guys. Number 12 is Jiska Tolosa from Ethiopia, 33 years old, excuse me. And he's been at the back of the pack since the start, really. The pacers are beginning to feel it. They're not used to particularly running in these kinds of conditions, and in particular over this kind of terrain. Just been past a huge shopping mall called U-Walk in Riyadh. And it really is grim weather today. Very, very grim indeed. Not ideal at all for marathon running. We do have a relatively large chance of rain. And the temperatures are expected to get up to nearly 30 degrees. Kipkemboi Kiprono, who we've talked about in that Barcelona marathon last year, is a man who spends most of his time pacing, but could be an elite runner in his own right in terms of marathons. And of course, a lot of the pacers as well enter themselves into the elite races for half marathons, which is what Kimeli has done too.
Avance ou ralenti, là, il est caché. Avance, s'il te plaît, avance. Avance encore un peu.
Remember, this is the first full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, staged by the Sports for All Federation, which is a government organisation promoting the growth of sport and tourism in line with the Saudi Vision 2030. Lots of amateur runners behind these elite runners too. And we've got the half marathon on the course at the moment, a 10K race for young adults, and a 4-kilometre race for beginners and children. All of which announced in November by the Minister of Sport in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Turki Al Faisal Al Saud. Now, Barnabas Kiptum, the favourite for today's race, is actually ranked number 14 in the world. For marathon running. Has been as high as 9th in the past, but currently 14th. Do keep coming submitting your tweets and so on. If you're a social media kind of a person, you can do that using the hashtag Riyadh Marathon. And do follow the official Riyadh Marathon account as well, which, as you might expect, is at Riyadh Marathon. Must be said that our pacers are doing an exceptional job on what is not an easy course at all. But they're keeping the pace right up there for our elite athletes. And our elite athletes, of course, rely absolutely on the pace setters. Two hours, 20 minutes and 24 seconds is the fastest personal best that we have on the course today. That, of course, Edisa Workanesh, 29 years old, from Ethiopia. And she is wearing the number 21 today. So she is the woman to watch, if you like, in terms of past results. Barnabas Kiptum, who is wearing the number 1 today, a big pre-race favourite. But Segai Getachew will be hoping to push him very close today. 10 years his younger too. And while Kiptum is ranked number 14 in the marathon currently, Getachew actually way down in 77th. But his recent results have been pretty impressive. 7th in Paris last year, of course, in October, in 2 hours, 5 minutes and 11 seconds. He also ran in Izmir in Turkey in 2021. Those are the only 2 marathons that he ran last year, the 12 months leading up to this 2022. And it was Paris where he set his personal best. And that's him wearing the number 11, you can see that. Sergei Getachew, in fact, is how he's known, but Sergei Tadezi is how we've got him on our screen here. Mike Kipton in the orange shoes and the blue and black singlet. Our pace is still right at the front, and we'll be looking to come to the halfway mark in 4 kilometres time. 17 kilometres gone for the men. And at the 17-kilometre mark, as they explore the city of Riyadh, we'll be taking a sharp right-hand turn and coming down Imam Saud bin Abdulaziz bin Mohammed Road. There we go right now. And there'll be another sharp turn to the left this time. Just after the 18-kilometre mark. I'm not quite sure why the timings on the cars that you saw on your screen there are different from the timings on your screen. I dare say we'll find out going forward. Let's have another think about our third favourite for today, Joel Kimura. He ran a superb marathon in Milan last year, setting a personal best of 2 hours, 5 minutes and 19 seconds. And he, on paper, the third favourite for today. But Chep Kirui, born as Chep Kirui, he is the athlete keeping best with the paces today. Second fastest time, remember, for her, historically. But her time, set a few years ago, 35 years old and still going very strong indeed, as you can see. The number 22. But it's number 21 in the yellow singlet, still having no problems at all as they approach 17K as well. And all of our elite women athletes and all of our elite men athletes still holding their own at the front of the race. Nobody showing any signs yet of any weakness, as we begin to start thinking about the halfway point. Still a little way to go, of course. Plenty of water stops all the way around the course as the temperatures start to rise, and we expect them to get up to 26 degrees at some point today. The skies are incredibly grey and there's a high percentage chance of rain well over 30% chance of rain according to the forecasts, as our runners get to explore this wonderful city of Riyadh. And when they come around again, this will be the 40-kilometre mark, so 20 kilometres done. Remembering this is a double loop around the capital of Saudi Arabia. So far, the pace being set exceptionally well, you have to say. And the runners are back into King Saud University. It's one of the main buildings behind them that they've just run past. And they're coming up to their 20-kilometre mark. The reason that the 20k and the 40k marks are not in exactly the same place is because the start line is just half a k or so further on than the finish line. So, of course, they've got that extra half k. And we're starting to see our first runners drop off and being really affected by this this little hill towards the end. That's Giska Tolosa, who we've spoken about a few times already, and he's starting to feel that pace. The green sign that said 8 kilometres there, don't worry about that. That's for the 10k run, which happens later on today. Remember, it's a fabulous festival of running here in Riyadh today. Marathon, half marathon, 10k and a 4k race, all taking place on the same day. And we're going to see our runners just being urged to stay on the right-hand side of the orange bollards there. Need to make sure that our cameramen on the motorbikes can get all around. And we're now very interested to see what's going to happen as we approach the halfway mark of this marathon. The half marathon runners, of course, are all also underway, a little bit further behind. 15 minutes or so behind these guys. But still, it's Waganesh Makasha looking very strong alongside Bornes Chepkirui. Just biding her time, and she's been at the back the whole time, is our race favourite, Edisha Wurkanesh. But it's Waganesh Mikasha who's been much closer to the front, her countryman, or compatriot from Ethiopia. Mikasha, the number 23, is 30 years old. 2019 was her best year for marathon running. She finished 4th in Dubai, not far away from here, of course, setting her personal best, but she also set her 2nd and 3rd best times of her career that year. Had races in China, in Shanghai, and the Yellow River Estuary in Donying. In terms of a world ranking, 31st for marathon running, as the women are back into the campus of the King Saud University as well again. They'll be running past the women's campus. The girls' campus is just on the left-hand side, as we see somebody else dropping off as we go halfway around. And this time it's our number 9, Daniel Kembois. Been a few years since he's had a really superb season, but it's not often that you see elite marathon runners starting to be lost from the lead group before halfway round. So this is a real testament to the course and a real example of how this course is actually very, very difficult indeed. The finishing straight. For the men. And you can already see, because we haven't been through the halfway mark yet, that this is not going to be a fast marathon race. Second half, unlikely to go quicker. As we see Daniel Kembois again. And our front group is 2 down. And it looks to me like it may well be 3 down pretty soon, because Silas 2 is also beginning to struggle. A couple of Kenyans just really out of the race already. 9 runners now in our lead group. 2 of those, of course, remember, are pacers. So in terms of the overall victory, we're down to 7 possibilities. 7 potential victors. As Silas 2 struggles. And you can see the little ramp up here towards the finish line. I mentioned at the very start of the broadcast that we have a real false flat, a little climb up towards the finish line. And it's not the only one that we've had around the course. But just in the distance there, on that corner, you can see the 21-kilometre mark. So for the half marathon runners who'll come through in 15 minutes or so, they know that the finish line is just around the corner for them. Not so, of course, for either of these groups of athletes, because they're doing the full marathon and they've still got another 21k to go. Good luck to all. One of the women we haven't spoken about very much yet is the Kenyan Valentine Kipketer. She broke the course record in Madrid back in 2018. In the year in Madrid where Kenyan had a double in the men's and the women's races. But in our men's race today, we're approaching the halfway mark. And our pacers are keeping a good pace given the course. But the runners themselves, the elite runners, receiving plenty of information from our motorbike riders here, who are trying to make sure that they achieve the goals that they've set themselves for today's race. We are left, though, with just one pacer out front in the men's race, and that's Wisley Kimeli. So halfway round, and one pacer out in front, trying his very best, of course, to keep the other elite athletes on course for what they're looking for. And remember, we've seen those scenes before as we've come round and start this second loop. Still no sun. And Wisley Kimeli, I guess it's just trying to keep the pace up and what he knows he has to run. But the elite group behind him are really struggling to keep up. So in a way, not exactly the job that he needs to be doing today. Our other pacer, wearing the number 13, Kipkemboi Kiprono. I can't see there actually, unless he's at the front of that little group. Yeah, I think he is. And in fact, Wisley Kimeli has slowed down, visibly slowed down, to let that little group catch him. Much more important that they stay together. And here are some of our amateur runners being passed. Good thrill for them, though, to be able to see some of these elite athletes and see just how fast they run, despite it being a long-distance event. Quite extraordinary when you witness it for real. And our women approaching that same point, of course, slightly behind the men. Two pacers still in there in the women's race. John Langat is at the front in the black singlet, just signalling to those behind which way the course goes. And we've still got a full complement of elite women in this front group. Now, they haven't yet been up that hill which leads to the finish line, but they will be starting to come up there now. And it was around about here in the men's race that we saw two of our elite athletes completely dropped by the lead group. So let's see whether that's going to happen as well in the women's race. And of course, the second time when they come around this little roundabout towards the finish line, there will be far fewer of them left in the lead group. In fact, the likelihood is it'll be someone out on their own. Usually it's. .108.57 for 20k. And we've said since the very start of today's race, this is not anticipated to be a fast marathon today. The conditions and the course itself, undulating, up and down with some very severe tests at some very crucial times. We will, though, see course records broken, or set rather, in both the men's and the women's races. The reason for that being, this is the first ever full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, organised by the Sport for All. And do keep getting involved on Twitter. You can use the hashtag Riyadh Marathon, which Laura Jane Kay has done. Wishing everybody luck. I'm sure they appreciate that very much indeed. Back to our men and seeing much of what is going on today. We would have seen already. We were expecting the clouds to have cleared a little bit and the temperature to rise slightly more than it has. Oh dear, oh dearie, dearie me. That was not intentional at all, I'm sure, from Segai Getachew. As it looks like we may be starting to have somebody else struggling. That's Solomon Yego. And again, it's on one of these little false flats, one of these little hills early on in the race, as both our pacers are back in the front. And we've got our half marathon. You can see the pace there being set. The half marathon looks like it's coming towards an end. Now the winner looks to me like it's going to be exactly as predicted. In fact, no, it's not, I beg your pardon. It's Jeffrey Kipchumba. Second in Nakuru half marathon last year, but the winner today, our favourite, is in the orange shorts rather, Eric Kiptanui. He was only able to finish second. So winner of the half marathon in the men. Congratulations.
A small question for the live TV. Okay. So
to Jeffrey Kipchumba. Let's hear from him.
After this first half marathon?
I was feeling good. The course is so good, weather is good, everything was good. So I'm happy to be the winner of the day. Thank you.
Well, he said he felt good. And that's no surprise to hear that he felt good, because he won. Congratulations to the Kenyan, Jeffrey Kipchumba, winner of the first Saudi Riyadh half marathon today. Back we go to our elite men. And a very reduced group already, down to 8. And on the left-hand side of your screen, or the right-hand side now, on what I think is a Harley Davidson, or I assume is a Harley Davidson, might be a Honda Goldwing actually, motorbike. There's the man employed by the organisation to keep the runners fully informed as to the pace that they're running. And he's done a very good job so far. We still have our main favourites all in this main group. The number 14 on your screen was our pace setter, Wesley Kameli. And the pacers will be just beginning to struggle. And you would think they would start to drop out fairly soon. Meanwhile, in the women's race, everything looking pretty good at the moment for our pre-race favourites. Number 30, we haven't talked about much yet. That's Tig Zasefa, one of many Ethiopian athletes. 7 Ethiopians, in fact, in our lead group. Just the 2 Kenyans today, including number 22, born as Chepkuria, who we've seen at the front of this group the whole way round, along with, on the left-hand side of your screen, Waganesh Mikasha, Ethiopian. But that is our favourite for today in the yellow singlet, Edissa Workanesh. Workanesh currently ranked number 33 in World Athletics marathon running. She hasn't won a marathon though since 2016, so she'll be hoping for a good result today. '28 was Medina Armino, also of Ethiopia, and she's looks like she's not struggling at all at the moment. Currently keeping pace with that lead group, no problem at all. Do remember that you can interact with us all the time using the hashtag Riyadh Marathon, and of course by following the official Riyadh Marathon account, which is at Riyadh Marathon on Twitter. And here comes the winner of the women's half marathon. Remember, we had 2 elite athletes running today, Daisy Cheritic and Gloria Kita. And as expected, it's Daisy Cheritic who wins. And we'll try and grab a word with her at the finish line. Can't see the time, I'm afraid, that she ran this half marathon in, but congratulations to Daisy Cheritic. Congratulations to Daisy Cheritic, winner of the Riyadh half marathon for the women. And some of the amateur runners, you'll see them being passed by the elite runners the whole time, because remember, this is a double loop of a circuit, and the half marathon is being run on exactly the same circuit. There you go, you can hear our colleague trying to encourage these elite runners to keep that pace up. And we do still have both our pacers at the front. Still early, of course, out here. So not huge crowds yet. The marathon started this morning at 6:15. So we're just past 8:30 in Riyadh, local time. Just after 4:30 GMT. And we're going to be concentrating, I feel, quite significantly from now on in on the favourites in both the women's and the men's race. Waganish Mikasha with a personal best of 2 hours, 22 minutes and 45 seconds. Bornes Chepkirui, who wears the number 22, just in front of her. 35-year-old with a better personal best of 2 hours, 21:26. But there's no doubt about the front runner in terms of personal bests in the women's race. And that's Edissa Workanesh in the yellow singlet. Easy to spot her. And our two pacers helping these guys out very much. It's John Langat who's the pacer for the women's race, on the very left of your screen right now. And there are 7 women still in with a chance of winning this race. You'll see various hand signals from the pacers as well, just indicating to the runners behind. Anything on the road, things like potholes, helping them to avoid those. And also indicating what's the next turning and so on. Solomon Yego, as we mentioned before, is out of it. He started to struggle about halfway round. But there's a lot of communication between this front group in the men's race, much more than we're used to seeing in elite racing. Very ill-advised, that gentleman, trying to keep pace with the elite runners and not doing so for more than a few meters. He's going to pay for that in a couple of kilometers' time, I suggest. Okay, our first pacer is being lost. That, the number 14, is Wesley Kimeli, 21 years old, and he's done a sterling job so far, taking us as far as he can. And you can see from some of the clothing that's being worn by the amateur runners on the right-hand side, who are being passed by the elite athletes, that the weather really is not too good out there today. Let's have a listen to some of the animation. As our elite athletes are going around the second loop of today's race, we will start to see more crowds and on the roads and more things going on. And John Langat, along with, I'm not sure who the guy's in the white t-shirt actually, but he's done a superb job along with John Langat there of pacing these women and keeping them right up there. So far, no doubt that Bornes Chepkirui looks the strongest of the women. She's been right up at the front of this group from the very, very start. But make sure you keep an eye out for number 25, Tadu Teshome. winner in Barcelona. That's her furthest away from the camera. She beat a lot of very, very fancied athletes in Barcelona this year, or last year. And in between her and the favourites in the yellow singlet here, you can see Medina Armino, Ethiopian, another Ethiopian, who by all accounts shouldn't really be in amongst the medalists, if you like, the podium contenders at the end of this race. So far she's doing very well indeed. It doesn't look at all like she's going to be struggling. Loves running in China, Armino. She's won the last 2 Xiamen marathons. And also still in that group is Hii Everyone, another Ethiopian, with just the one professional marathon to her name so far. As we approach the 1.5 hour mark. So another hour or so to run for these women, and just over half an hour to go in the men's race. Still 7 women all together in this lead group. The men's elite front group has been whittled down quite considerably. We've lost some of our race favourites. We've also lost our pacers, and we're now down to the bare bones of the elite athletes. All our amateur runners out on the course now, some of them walking already. Remember, we've got amateur athletes out here, amateur runners, doing 10K and doing half marathons, as well as the full marathon. Very important that they keep their phones well in towards their bodies, so they don't get in the way of the elite athletes. Could cause some quite serious injuries, actually, as we've seen very often in professional cycling races. And now another runner. Looks like he's beginning to struggle. That's Lengend Ambesa, the Ethiopian who won in Venice in 2019. Just beginning to show signs that this pace is a little bit too much in these conditions, and with this undulation, this topography. Lots of our amateur runners already walking. And many of these guys will, of course, be running the half marathon, not the full marathon, which is run over the same course. Number 3 was Joel Kimura. Look out for him towards the end as well. And the pace in the women's race, still very, very good indeed. 7 runners, none of them have been dropped yet. In the men's race on the first loop, at the end of the first loop, we saw a couple of runners distanced as the group went up the hill towards the line. Important to note here in Riyadh that there is a false flat towards the end of the course, and therefore those tired legs will really feel it as they approach the finish line. That's the same, of course, for both the half marathon and the full marathon. Numbers 21, 22 and 23 at the front of this group, as we expected. My prediction, though, the number 25, Thankyou So Much, on the right-hand side of your screen, next to Hii Everyone. Nigeri did win the Marrakesh Marathon 2 years ago. Training partners with So Much, so you should probably see them running together also to the end. Tixta Sefa is the last runner in this group, more of a half marathon specialist, but having a go today at the full 42.2 kilometers. And even though our amateur athletes, a lot of amateur runners, a lot of them walking, those that are running, you've seen them being passed so quickly. The difference in pace between an amateur runner and an elite athlete is almost intangible. Wherever you are in the world watching this first full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Remember, this was only announced in November of last year, so a good turnout of very, very high level elite athletes here in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. We started in King Saud University and we'll finish at the same place. The runners have already been through the finish line once. It's a double loop. And they'll be starting to think now about the last section of this race. We are 3/4 of the way through. And the pace at 30 kilometers, 1 hour 30. 1 hour 30 and 28. So with another half hour to go, the men are through 31k, and they've got just 11 to go. Because of those false flats, because of the undulations and the topography that we've seen already on the first loop, you know that the pace today is not going to be anywhere near world record time. But of course, both course records for the women and the men will be set today, given that this is the first ever full marathon run in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in partnership with Sport for All. Do keep your comments coming in on Twitter. You can use the hashtag Riyadh Marathon, as Saleh Al Nasser has done, and Laura Jane Kay. Rashid has been involved with us as well. Great to have you all watching wherever you are in the world. Here in Riyadh, we are approaching 5 a.m. I beg your pardon, that's not true. Approaching 9 a.m. A bit difficult when you get up so early to keep a track. I'm sure you are keeping track wherever you are. And here's another one of those little hills. They look very small and short, but when you've already run 31k, they can be absolute killers. Who's going to start to drop off? Who's going to make their move? Kipkemboi Kiprono, 5th in Barcelona this year, is at the back of the men's group at the moment. He's done a great job of pacing us around so far, though. But given that he did finish the Barcelona Marathon in 5th, it may be that he intends to stay with this elite group for as long as he can. And now we're going to see some congestion. Now, the organisers need to make sure that the elite athletes have room to run their races, because it's possible that once we get the real congestion of the fun runners, of the amateur runners, they could actually cause a little bit of a problem. So hopefully the organisers will keep the elite runners on the left-hand side as they are. Looks like they're doing a very good job of keeping these guys separate and keeping the road clear. Okay, Kiprono is being dropped off the back, and that's going to leave us with 6 athletes at the front of this race. Barnabas Kiptum, the big favourite for today. His personal best marathon time is nearly a minute faster than his nearest rival, which is Segai Getachew. But somewhere from those 7, well, it'll be 6 actually, because Kiprono already looked like he was struggling. Somewhere from there we're going to see a little bit of sports gel being taken on, looks like. Bit of instant energy. Approaching the last quarter of this race for the women. And they're going to find themselves coming into those that congested sections of the road pretty soon with all of the amateur runners. Tactically, this is beginning to get to the key point of the race, more so in the men's race, of course. But at some point soon, the runners have to make a move. And the crowds are beginning to turn out, and they'll be turning out much more, of course, later on today, to see their friends and family and to cheer them home after what is, let's face it, a colossal achievement for those who don't do this for a job, don't do this every day. The streets of Riyadh, relatively quiet still. It's early, it's a Saturday morning. And we're very fortunate that the rain hasn't fallen. It looked like the rain was going to fall. Lots of conversations going on in both our league groups today, both the women and the men. Not something that I'm used to seeing an awful lot. Now, of course, these runners know each other very well. They run with and against one another all the time. Many of them are training partners at home, either in Ethiopia or Kenya. But still, it's unusual to hear quite so much communication. And I think that's probably due to the fact that this is a brand new race, that the double loop means that they are seeing a lot of the fun runners, the amateur runners, out on the course. And that's not necessarily what they're used to seeing. That's Medina Armino, the number 28. Ranked number 28 in the world in marathon running. Her top personal best time was set in one of those two. In fact, both her fastest times over a full marathon course have been set in Xiamen, and both of those Xiamen marathons in China she won. 2 hours 26 minutes and 12 seconds, her personal best. So another 40 minutes or so, probably 45 for the women. Kiprono has come back. Looked like he was going to be well out of it, but here he is with the word pacer. on his shirt. Be a real turn up for the books if he were to win today. Barnabas Kiptum, though, leading the way. Two Kiptums, in fact, at the front, Mike and Barnabas. Not related, I hasten to add. Both Kenyan, but not related. And a very impressive run by number 13, Kiprono. So just so you can tell those two Kiptums apart, number 1 in the orange is Barnabas Kiptum, the pre-race favourite. And Mike Kiptum is the number 7 in the blue singlet to his namesake's right. Let's have a look once more at today's course. So there you go, that's your double loop, starting and finishing at the King Saud University in Riyadh, a popular venue for top-level elite sporting events. It was the location, in fact, for one of the finishes at the Dakar Rally this year in January. So rally fans will be used to seeing this area of the capital of Saudi Arabia. But today it's all about road running, it's all about marathon running, and it's all about the last quarter of this first ever full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Our favourite in the women's race, in the yellow singlet, number 21, Elisa Workanesh, ranked 14th by World Athletics in terms of marathon running, and she's a big favourite today. Next to her, the number 29, Howie Nageri, who's done ever so well in the last couple of years. But remember that number 25, Tadu Teshome, winner in Barcelona last year, still up there, and in with a great shout. If she can tactically pull off what she did in Spain, in Catalonia, just a few months ago. And still our pacer, Kipkemboi Kiprono, number 13 in the middle of your screen there, is up there with the elite runners, and still in with a chance of winning this race. It would be hugely unexpected, and not in any way what the organisers have brought him here to do. But it's by no means impossible, given that he finished 5th in Barcelona back in November. Barcelona Marathon returning, by the way, on May the 8th. Between now and then, we have the Paris Marathon at the beginning of April. And I'll be looking forward to talking to you for both of those marathons in the upcoming months. Both our Kiptums are still in amongst it. No, in fact, we're losing Mike Kiptum. There he goes, that's number 7. We're losing Mike Kiptum. Also known as Mike Boyd. But Mike Kiptum officially. And he's beginning to lose touch, so we're down to 6. We're down to 6 in the men's elite race. And we're also down to the last 20 minutes or so of it. And they're just starting to push the pace a little bit. Barnabas Kiptum, the pre-race favourite, in the orange at the front. If past records is anything to go by, he should win today fairly easily. And it looks like there's been a real rapid increase of pace at the front of the men's elite group. Kiprono Kipkemboi was our pacer, who we said had done a great job keeping pace so far. But he, along with Lengend Mbassa, is really starting to struggle, and we are now left with just 3. That's Andualem Shifarao at the front, alongside Barnabas Kiptum. And in fact, it's Shifarao who I think was the man who injected that turn of pace to try to whittle this group down. To those with a chance of winning, as we lose Joel Kimura. Andualem Shifarao in the blue and green singlet at the front, who had a phenomenal year back in 2019. Not a young man, 29, potentially reaching the peak of his marathon career, I guess. Was ranked as high as 28 in the world at one point. But those are our 3 at the front right now. We're looking at Barnabas Kiptum, Segai Getachew, and Andualem Shifarao. That's who we're looking out for right now. And it looks like those 3 are pulling away. They know they're reaching the business end of the race, the pointy end of the race. The crucial moments are coming. Who's your pick, do you think? Do let us know. You can join us. And you can comment and join in with us on Twitter with the hashtag Riyadh Marathon, which Saleh Al Nasser is doing. I must say I agree with Saleh. He says it's a tremendous job organising and covering the Riyadh Marathon. It's not an easy task, organising the first full marathon in the kingdom, but they've done a brilliant job so far. Favourite today was Barnabas Kiptum, but he is now being left behind as well, as once again it's Andualem Shifarao who is injecting some pace into the front of this race, and the only man who can live with it at the moment is Segai Getachew. Kiptum beginning to struggle. One question left now then is, can these 2 at the front, that's Getachew and Shifarao, can they stay at this kind of pace when it comes to these little hills as we're going to go up now? Remember, these guys are used to running on pretty flat courses. London, Paris, Barcelona. The big marathons tend to be pretty flat. This is a very unusual course. for an international elite level marathon. And so, in terms of muscle memory, in terms of training, this may not be what these guys are used to running. That's why we're seeing some surprises already in the men's race. Now, the women's elite race, by contrast, still has all the main favourites in that lead group. But this is a really big surprise. A really big surprise. Barnabas Kiptum has been dropped by Tsegai Getachew and Andualem Shifarao. Shifarao has not had a decent result in a marathon for at least 3 years. Getachew, on the other hand, had a pretty good 2021, setting 2 of his top times that year in Izmir in Turkey and in Paris. And for our women, 30K, they went through in 1:44.25. Bornis Chepkirui and Tadu Teshomi looking as strong as the 2 favourites, Waganesh Mikasha and Adisa Workanesh. And we still have 7 runners in that lead group of women, and none of them have been dropped yet. There's our second favourite for the day. One is Chepkirui. And alongside her, it's like Howie Nageri. And again, at some point soon, we're going to see an injection of pace by some of these runners. Remember, the big favourite, Adisa Workanesh, a big favourite, in fact, is there in the centre of your screen in the yellow. Nageri just behind her. Workanesh is there. Mikasha is there. Teshomi is still there, as was Nageri. But in the men's race, we're looking at the last 10 minutes or so of running, and there's only 2 men who are in the running. They are Tsegai Getachew and Andualem Shifarao. And they have left this man, the pre-race favourite, Barnabas Kiptum, way back. Kiptum just not used to this kind of topography, just not enjoying the weather. You can see him just beginning to struggle, but the 2 who have gone ahead are now way ahead. And they're into the last few kilometres of this 42.2 kilometre race. And for me, it's without a doubt, from the very start, that man, Andualem Shifarao, who has been pushing the pace the whole time. It was him who injected a change in pace a few kilometres ago. Super interesting to listen to our colleague here. Last 2 kilometres, he said, they've been running at 2:54 pace. Very interesting. And I don't know whether you heard very clearly, but the last thing he said was, "You're running very fast." I think we can all agree with that. You are running very fast indeed. Thank you for joining me wherever you are in the world. We are here. We are just gone. It has just gone 8 o'clock in Riyadh. Just gone 5 o'clock GMT. just gone 6 o'clock in Europe, and wherever you're watching this first ever full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, organised by Sport for All, we're very happy to have you with us, and I'm very grateful that you're here watching and listening. The women's race is absolutely fascinating. We had 7 potential winners. We have lost 1. We didn't see that on the screen, so right now I can't tell you who it is that we've lost. But I can tell you that all the pre-race favourites are there, plus my outside pick. And the pacer, still doing very well, John Lengend. Around about half an hour or so left for these women to run, just under probably. And they're from at the very front since the very start. Bornis Chepkarui. Tadu Teshome, 25, next to her. The big favourite, number 21, Edesha Workanesh. 23 is Waganesh Mikasha. 28 still in with a chance as well. That's Medina Armino. And Hawi Negeri. That makes up the 6 who we have fighting it out for the title today. In the men, it's down to 2. It's down to 2 in the men. And it's been down to 2 for the last couple of K. Which of these 2 can make it up that little hill to the finish line in pole position? What's the best tactic on a little drag to the line like that? They're into the last kilometre. Or coming into the last kilometre anyway. It's Getachew versus Shifarao. Getachew versus Shifarao for the title and the course record, of course. On recent form, Shifarao should take this. But Segai Getachew had one great result last year, one top 10 last year. But in terms of winning marathons, Andualem Shifarao is way out in front. Not in terms of personal best, interestingly. Getachew's personal best is nearly 40 seconds. It is 41 seconds quicker than Shifarao. But in terms of race style and tactics, it's Shifarao, number 5, who's leading at the front right now, who should be the favourite. So it all depends on how they're feeling coming in to this last kilometre or so. 2K to go. 2 kilometres to go for the men. It's 2 Ethiopians at the front of the race. And it's Shifarao leading. It's Segai Getachew in second. The taller man with the longer stride. And with a faster personal best. But the man with the recent form. There's 40K. 2 kilometres to go for these 2 men. And in these conditions, they have run exceptionally well. As they start to increase the pace a little bit more. Shifarao really trying to put on the hurt to Segai Getachew. Getachew is still following there, he can't drop him. Shifarao cannot drop Getachew. He keeps injecting little changes of pace. He keeps changing his pace, looking round, but he cannot shake the younger man. 4 years difference between these two. And an awful lot of experience difference as well. Here they go. Into the university campus. And they know now that they've got less than 1.5 kilometers to go. Some great encouragement from our colleagues on the motorbikes. 1K left in the men's race, a little more left in the women's race. 6 women still there. The only one of our favourites who's not in that front group is Valentine Kipketer. She was dropped a little while back, but apart from that, they are all there, the big names all there. 21, 22, 23, 25. Any of them could win. That 8-kilometre mark is from the 10K race, which will happen later on in the day. Don't worry about that. We are into the last kilometre. I think, I haven't seen if they've actually gone past that last little bit now. But there's our encourager on his Harley Davidson. Or Honda, is it? So a downhill now, and then a real drag up to the line. Fascinating battle in the last few hundred meters of this race. We've known all along that we're not going to see any personal bests broken. We've known all along we're not going to see any world records today. Remember, Tsegay Getachew's personal best, 2 hours, 5 minutes and 11 seconds. And Dualim Shifarao's 2 hours, 5 minutes and 52 seconds. And we're coming up to 2 hours, 5 minutes now. And suddenly, it looks like Getachew might have it in him. I think he's playing a very clever tactical race. Still 6 women remain at the front of the elite women's race. And this one is anybody's. This race is absolutely anybody's race. Talita Shomi, very young, 20 years old. Up against some really experienced athletes. Okay, let's hope we stick with this now then. We're going to stick with this until the end of the men's race. Who is going to win this first full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from Sport for All? And up they go, up this drag to the line. It must be absolutely burning in their thighs, in their quadriceps. They know that they're nearly at the finish. It's been 2 hours, 6 minutes, and a little bit of hard work. Up and down. Damp conditions, overcast, not great marathon running conditions at all. We've already seen the half marathon. Finish in both the men's and the women's. Jeffrey Kipchumba and Daisy Cherok were our winners. And now the finish line is in sight. They'll have a bend slightly to the left after this. And one of these two is going to win. Here we go. This is the finishing straight right now. 42 kilometers run. A few hundred to go. There's the 42k marker, you can see it there. And that's it, 200 meters left. And now he goes for it, does Getachew. Getachew goes. He's been sitting behind Schifferau for the last few kilometers. And now he sprints past as we watch some of the half marathon amateurs finish. Here they come, the two of them, sprinting to the line. The elite man, and it is going to be Tsegaye Getachew, who wins in 2 hours, 8 minutes and 26 seconds from his compatriot Andualem Schifferau. The winner of the first Riyadh Marathon, Andualem Schifferau. Second, Tsegaye Getachew. And coming in third place is going to be the pre-race favourite. That's Barnabas Kiptum. Phenomenal effort by all of these elite athletes, and of course by the amateurs as well. Let's watch a legend of marathon running coming over the line now. Disappointment etched on Kiptum's face, but a podium nonetheless. Congratulations to the top three. Still our women's race to be decided, of course, as we watch the rest of the elite men come in. That was the moment. That's Tsegaye Getachew won the first Riyadh Marathon. He won in Izmir last year in 2 hours, 9 minutes 35. But he's better that time today, despite the conditions and despite the course. Congratulations. And now, just remains for us to discover who's going to win the elite women's race. We're down to 5. We have lost one of our front group. There we go. It's Bornes Chepkirui who we've lost. And Chepkirui has led this bunch throughout the whole race. Very unfortunate for Bornes Chepkirui. But there's my pick for today, Tali Teshome. Just behind her, Edissa Wokanesh, the pre-race favourite. Now Teshome has already beaten Waganesh Makasha, who's in the orange singlet. She beat her in Barcelona last year, convincingly as well. Tali Teshome is a really bright star for the future. Remember, she's super young as well, only just turned 20 years old. currently at the front of that group. We still have Medina Armino in the green. Another young, 24 years old. But our favourite is still in the yellow, Edessa Workanesh. Chep Kirui is not going to win today's race. She's been dropped from this lead group of women. And there are 5 potential winners left here and now. Just at the front of your screen, you can see how much this is taking out of some of these athletes. That's Waganesh Makasha. But this is what happened just a few months ago in Barcelona, exactly the same. Tadu Teshome, just looking incredibly calm, incredibly poised.
Good job, good job.
Medina Armino also clearly feeling the effects of this race. Waganesh Makasha the same. But at the moment, Teshome and Edessa look the 2 most composed to me. They're at the front and the 3 behind them look like they're struggling a lot more. Waganesh Makasha has that slight lean to the left. Slightly unusual running style, but Teshome just looks so fluid, as does Edessa. Howie Nageri is the unknown quantity a little bit. She's the woman in sort of third from last of this little group, just behind Edessa in the yellow singlet. Let's see, tactically this is now very interesting indeed. Again, John Langat, the pacer, just pointing out obstacles in the road to these women. Edessa is beginning to impose herself. And at some point over the next kilometre or so, somebody is going to have to put some pace into the front of this group. It was at around about this point in the men's race that we saw our 2 leaders pull away. As we approach the end of the elite races today, do keep in contact.
C'est lui qui parle, le mec avec l'arrière, à mon avis, là. Ouais. Je lui ai dit déjà dès le départ qu'il reste à l'entente. Ouais.
This is it, the business end of the race, the pointy end of the day. 5 runners in with a chance. Waganesh Mikasha is a great racer. She knows exactly what to do to win marathon races, as does Odessa. In the front, though, Tadu Teshome, the youngster, 20 years old, only just 20. The unknown quantity is Howie Negeri. Still in amongst it as well is Medina Armino. That's her in the green. What are they thinking? What are they thinking? What are they planning? About 10 minutes left to run, just under for these ladies. 3 and a bit kilometers. They've just gone through 39k. 39k, it started at 6:15 a.m. for these elite women. And we've now just gone past 8:30. They've been running for 2 hours and 18 and a half minutes. They've just got a little way to go. They need to put everything into these last 3 kilometers. One of them is about to take a victory and to set a record in the first full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, organised by Sport for All, announced only in November last year. A double loop of a city circuit. We need to make sure that the amateur runners get out of the way. John Langat doing a brilliant job as the pacer. And still, these 5 women run together, but Teshome is beginning to increase the pace, is she? Odessa can stay with her at the moment. Langat, the pace is still there. Mikasha looking like she's struggling, but don't be fooled, because that's just her running style. That's her in the orange at the back, leaning slightly to the left. Armino in the green next to her. Nagawi in front. Remember, Borna's Chepkirui has led most of the way round, but she's now gone. And still 5 in it. We are no clearer as to which one of these elite women feels in the best shape coming into the last 2 kilometers. This is anybody's race. Here goes Teshome. Wow, with such a small amount of time left to go in this race, that was a big risk taking a water there. Big risk, and it might well have cost Waganesh Odessa, because she's now right at the back of the pack, and she needed to keep up with Tadu Teshome. Teshome is going past Langat, the pacer, or trying to. These fun runners need to get out of the way. The organisers need to get them gone. It's been a brilliantly organised race so far. And now Tadu Teshome, just as she did in Barcelona a few months ago, has injected that pace. There she's gone with Langat, and Odessa, taking a water bottle with less than 2 kilometers to go to the line, has made a big mistake, in my opinion, a huge error tactically, because Teshome is now away, and Teshome does not get caught from this kind of distance when she attacks towards the end of a marathon race, just as she did in November this year, setting a course record in Barcelona and a personal best. She's leaving the others in her wake. This is a 20-year-old. Let me tell you again, she's 20 years old, just turned 20, Ethiopian, a quite brilliant potential athlete in the future. Right now, she's only ranked 108 in the world for marathon running, but that is absolutely wrong. She should be way higher than that, because she is absolutely blasting this group of 5 away. She's only run 2 professional marathons, and she's won them both. She's in her 3rd, and she's about to win this one as well. How about that for a beginning to a marathon running career. Tadu Teshome, once again, has taken the bull by the horns, has taken the race by the scruff of the neck, and she is obliterating many much more acclaimed marathon runners. She hasn't quite shaken the pre-race favourite Edessa Workanesh quite yet, but Workanesh has an enormous amount to catch up. There's no chance she's going to do it, because Tadu Teshome is about to make it 3 from 3 in her marathon running career. Extraordinary. Cape Town, she won. Barcelona, she won. And now, here she goes. Cape Town was a 10K, I beg your pardon. She's only run one marathon before. That was Barcelona, she won it. She did win the 10K in Cape Town. Tadu Teshome is a name not just for the future, she's a name for the present. This is the day, once again, of the young Ethiopian Tadu Teshome. Great run from her, and she's the only one who's kept up with the pace of John Langat the entire way round. Langat's done a brilliant job of guiding the elite runners through not only the obstacles, but the course and the amateur runners as well. And for the second marathon in a row, Teshome is blasting Waganesh Mikasha, a celebrated marathon runner, out of the water. Nobody can live with Tadu Teshome. Anytime she takes to the roads, nobody can live with her at all. Our pre-race favourite, Edessa Workanesh, with a personal best time 3.5 minutes faster than Tadu Teshome. Cannot keep up with the young Ethiopian. She's not going to set a personal best today, Teshome, because this course is not set out for personal bests or for records. But she will now hold the course record at both marathons, professional marathons, in which she's competed. She's won them both, and she set the course record on both Barcelona and now Riyadh. Tadu Teshome, wherever you're watching at home, take note of that name. Tadu Teshome, if you're just new to marathon running, to long distance running, then this is a 20-year-old with an extraordinary future. We're talking World Championships, Olympics. There's no limit to what this woman can do. Tadu Teshome approaches the finish line at the first ever Riyadh full marathon in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in horrible conditions. She's been right up there in the front group the whole way round. She's kept with the pace of the entire course. 42.2 kilometers is about to come to an end, and Tadu Teshome is not getting caught even by Edessa Workanesh. What a brilliant run from a brilliant young athlete. She hasn't looked in trouble at any point. An outstanding runner, says Salah Al Nasser on Twitter. Quite right, Salah. Nobody's catching this young lady. 20 years old. Brilliant. Brilliant marathon running, even up this last hill to the finish line. She's there with John Langat, the pacer, and he's almost like a personal paceman for her now. 2 marathons, 2 victories, and 2 course records. Beat that. As they receive the encouragement from the motorbike behind, you can see the gradient of this final hill to the line. This is not an easy finish at all to a marathon race. Quite the contrary. And even Teshome is now beginning to feel it. There you go, they are not used to have a drag up the line. But there's no way that Edessa Workanesh is catching her now. Absolutely no way. Here we go. That last little bend into the finishing straight. And it's not a fast marathon course. It was never supposed to be. We never expected it to be. But we have seen brilliant racing nonetheless. Round she goes. This is Workanesh. She knows her game is up. Still a great performance from her. But she must know that her compatriot, Thankyou So Much, who is nearly 10 years younger than her, is someone for whom she's going to have to look out in the years to come and months to come. It looks like So Much could do pretty much anything she wants. Finishing straight. There you go, 42 kilometers past, 200 meters to go. And in just under 2.5 hours, Thankyou So Much, the 20-year-old Ethiopian, is coming home, and her winning streak is now 2 out of 2. A brilliant run. Now she's gone past her pacer. There you go. Another victory. Thankyou So Much. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. What an athlete. In second, the pre-race favourite, her compatriot, Edissa Workanesh. Don't think she knows what hit her, really. She runs with a maturity and a talent, this woman. But that has taken it out of her, goodness me. That last hill really, really took it out of Thankyou So Much. And Workanesh Mikasha came in third place. Goodness me, congratulations Thankyou So Much. That was tough. That was the toughest marathon of her very short marathon running career. But what an extraordinary feat. In professional marathon running, she only knows the feeling of going through the line first. Extraordinary. What a great race we've seen today. The women's race especially was really fantastic. Absolutely fabulous. And of course, this little section of Riyadh will be busy for hours to come as amateur runners complete their own personal challenges. Let me just remind you, though, of what we had today. Andualem Shifarao winning the men's race ahead of Tsegai Getachew. In third place in the men's race was the pre-race favourite, Barnabas Kiptum. And then, as we've just seen, Thankyou So Much winning the women's race. In second, Edissa Workanesh, the pre-race favourite. And in third, beaten again by So Much, another Ethiopian, Workanesh Mikasha. So it's an Ethiopian double here in Riyadh. Beautiful city as the sun is beginning to burn through the clouds. And glint off the tall buildings in Riyadh. Home to nearly 8 million people, capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Riyadh. Thank you, Saudi Arabia, for a wonderful morning of racing. And thank you all as well for joining me and keeping me company for the last 3 hours. It's been a great pleasure. And we look forward to coming back here where no doubt the Riyadh Marathon will simply go from strength to strength. Quarter to 9 in the morning in Saudi Arabia. Riyadh is definitely awake. The day's begun, the weekend has begun, and it's begun with a celebration for Ethiopian marathon running. Confirmation then that Thankyou Getachew won the men's race ahead of Andualem Shifarao. Ethiopian 1-2, and then the pre-race favourite Barnabas Kiptum in third. The course record set at 2 hours 6 minutes and 27 seconds.
Everybody is a winner today, reaching the finish line. Congratulations. Don't give up. The last few meters are the hardest. Don't give up. Push. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Come on. Good job.
All of these amateur runners coming across the line, finishing their half marathon. The full marathon runners, amateurs, will be a long way back. Still a long, long way to go for the amateur runners here. Remember, this event is all part of Sport for All in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and specifically their Vision 2030. Some good encouragement from our MC, Master of Ceremonies on the ground. And he's going to be working hard for a long while yet.
All the competitors are champions today to finish the first Riyadh marathon. Bravo to everybody.
That lady didn't know where the finish line was. I think she carried on running. Plenty of amateur athletes still out on the course.
You can do it. Don't give up. You can do it. Push, 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 push.
And pretty soon we're hoping to hear from our two winners. Thankyou Getachew and Tadu Teshome. And then we'll see them presented with their trophies as well on the podium. Confirmation of the women's result. Tadu Teshome in 2 hours 26 minutes and 38 seconds, beating Edessa Workanesh and in third place another Ethiopian, Workanesh Mekasha. An Ethiopian 1-2-3 in the women's race. An Ethiopian 1-2 with a Kenyan in third in the men's race. There's a replay of the end of our men's race with Thankyou Getachew just having a bit too much in the end for Andualem Shifarao. but all of them feeling the effects of that last hill. Thankyou So Much came over the line. She looked so good the whole way around, but she was in real trouble after she finished. Idissa Workanesh couldn't get near to So Much today, but once she had won, So Much really started to struggle. We saw her struggle to breathe. And some real physical effects of what has been an incredibly hard day of marathon running. Wonderful King South Stadium. And they played one of the matches of the Spanish Super Cup here just 2 months ago. Great effort from all of today's runners.
Everybody today's a winner. Everybody today's a winner. You have a pride.
RMC, absolutely right. Everybody's a winner today.
Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Come on. Come on. Push yourself.
Young and old,
Come on. Come on.
from all over the world, men and women,
Good job,
girls and
good job,
boys.
Good job. Good job. Good job. Bravo. 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 Keep going. Keep going. You did it. You're a champion. You did it. Bravo.
And remember, we've got our amateur runners out on the course still from the half marathon coming in now. We've got amateur runners as well doing the full marathon. And then later on, a 10K run and a 4-kilometer run for kids as well.
لا يوقف قربت خط النهاية لا يوقف خش يلا روح روح شايفك روح بطل بطل بطل
Congratulations to all who have run today's race, whether that be in the elite or as an amateur. A fabulous achievement for every single person who crosses that line. A personal achievement.
Come on, final few meters. Come on, don't give up. Keep them going. Yes. Congratulations. لا يوقف لا 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 ما بالراحة يا بطل. روح روح بتاعك الأخيرة يلا يلا.
A last little effort
يلا بطل
for our amateur runners.
برافو برافو.
And a phenomenal
برافو للجميع برافو.
thing to have done on a Saturday morning before 9 a.m. running a half marathon to get the weekend off to a wonderful start. And the top
والآن مع
three
المتسابقين
from both the elite men
في المركز الثالث
and the elite
مكتشي
women's
ألفريد
race.
من كينيا.
In third place
في المركز
for the elite
الثاني
men,
كيبتانيو
Barnabas
إيريك من
Kiptum.
كينيا.
from Kenya. In second place,
كيبتشومبا جفري من كينيا في المركز الأول.
and now their trophies. Actually, I think that might be the half marathon, actually. marathon, excuse me. Half marathon, there you go. 21k and 100 meters. Jeffrey Kipchumba, the winner of the Riyadh Half Marathon 2022. And we'll wait for our podium for the women's half marathon of Riyadh 2022.
والآن مع حفل تكريم الإليت هاف ماراثون للسيدات. معنا في المركز الثالث فيرتسكا فالنتينيا.
In third place then, in the elite women's half marathon, Vetska Valentina Vetska.
في المركز الثاني كايت غلوريا.
Gloria Kite finishing in second.
في المركز الأول
And the winner,
دايزي.
Daisy Cheretich. One of the great things about today's Festival of Elite Running, you may have noticed that both the men and the women are receiving the same prize money today. And now here we are with the podium
وفي المركز الأول
for the
تديسي.
full marathon. Barnaby Kiptum in third place for the elite men. Angelo Charao and Sagai Getachew.
إذا المنافسة شديدة ووصول الأبطال كلكم أبطال. برافو 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 وصول خط.
And here he is with
أنت بطلة وأنت بطل.
the first ever trophy lift for the Riyadh Marathon. Course record, of course. Naturally. And a wonderful trophy to go with that course record and the victory. And of course, he'll also be receiving a very nice check indeed. $60,000 for the winner, 40 for second and 25 for third. Very nice morning's work for these three elite athletes. And a brilliant performance from Shirao, Getachew and Kiptum. Shifrao did his very best. Kiptum was long behind, but Shifrao led Segai Getachew all the way. Just couldn't keep up with the younger man towards the end. And in the women's race, third place for Waganesh Mikasha. Edessa Wakanesh in second. And no doubt about the winner, Tadu Tishomi, 20 years old, heads up an Ethiopian 1, 2, 3. Same trophy for her. And the same prize money for the women as for the men. A good morning's work and a wonderful race. A wonderful racer and a name for the future and the present. Tadu Tishomi takes top step on this podium for the first ever Riyadh Marathon. Thank you for joining us this morning. Hope you've enjoyed the running. Many, many, many amateur runners are still out on the roads of Riyadh, and you can follow them all by staying tuned right here. For me, it's goodbye. Enjoy a wonderful weekend. And if it today inspires you to put your running shoes on and go for a jog, whether it's on the roads or on the beach, very good luck to you. I'll see you next time. We're back for the Paris Marathon in April and Barcelona in May. Have a great weekend, and thank you for your time.